What a pleasure to welcome you to podcast number 152 and to 2025. You know, I was just so proud of all the followers we have, and you must be telling your friends because yesterday I had 50 new followers. How does that happen? It happens because peace is what we all desire right now. And you see, my new guest today, Rita Marie Johnson. Rita Marie Johnson is a friend of mine from Costa Rica and also an author of Completely Connected, also the founder of the Reserve Foundation International. Rita, I just welcome you with all my heart. Thank you for starting our year 2025.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Barbara. You've been a good friend for so many years, and I'm so happy we've been able to stay connected.
Stay connected. Well, anyway, I'm Barbara Gon Mueller, and it's my honor to produce peacepodcast.org. And as you heard, we have many followers now and over 150 guests. Each guest, whether a peacemaker, environmentalist, spiritual teacher, or a medical doctor, deeply understands the link between peace, health, and happiness in our everyday life. That's why you're going to love listening to Rita Marie today. Their inspiration and her life experiences will help you bring your own sense of inner peace and coherence into your life. You'll enhance your journey by listening today. So be sure you invite friends to join you. In order for us to create a world where we thrive with each other and Mother Nature, we have to learn how that peace in our family, friends, in our world needs, how to do that. And this peace is what brings us long lives and to our own destiny that we were born with. And so, Rita Marie, I'm going to start with something so simple. I wake up in the morning and I say, I'm so glad to be alive. Every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. What happens when you wake up in the morning, Rita?
Well, when I wake up, Barbara, I am just always filled with this, it's like a burning desire to help people be self-empowered to resolve their emotional turmoil so they can live their best life. That is what I'm passionate about.
To live their best life. Well, she discovered this synergy between empathy and insight that maximizes social emotional intelligence. Think about that. Social emotional intelligence. This became the connection practice, a science-based skill that transfers confusion into clarity and conflict into connection. Those are very powerful words. So, what is this human challenge that you help resolve with the connective practice?
Well, Barbara, it seems there's a growing awareness that humanity has to find a peaceful path forward or suffer more of the consequences than we're experiencing right now. You know, I was recently reading the world's largest study on emotional intelligence. It's called The State of the Heart. I don't know if you've heard about it, but in that study, they found that emotional intelligence has declined globally for the last 4 years. And also well-being has declined for the last 4 years. And then from 2021 to 2023, burnout has increased 65% in all the workplace sectors. And well, in addition, I'm sure you're probably aware, many of us have read about this and know people that are lonely, that loneliness has increased, that actually daily loneliness impacts 1 out of every 5 individuals in the United States. So when so many people in the world are having low well-being, loneliness, burnout, and declining emotional intelligence, there's this huge need for support. Now, the problem is that many of them can't afford that kind of support, and that there's just not enough professional support for everybody that needs it. And on top of that, our society doesn't have clarity on how to deal with this. So because people are throwing up their hands, not knowing what to do, this just adds to the sense of hopelessness.
That's the challenge. You just mentioned it, and that's
Exactly.
why your book
So,
is so powerful, because you have
well,
completely connected by using our empathy and insight for extraordinary results. And you know that. And to teach it is a whole nother problem, because you're implementing this in schools around the world. So talk about that.
well, I just wanted to say one more thing there about my conclusion and what gets me up in the morning,
Good.
Barbara, before I go on to how we're teaching in the world. And that is that when we don't have a solution and there's so much hopelessness, what, in my view, we need is a mainstream approach to resolving emotional turmoil that everyone can learn. So, as each person is self-empowered to release their negative feelings and access their best thinking, they're going to make positive choices that enrich life. And so that is what the connection practice does with the synergistic combination you mentioned of empathy and insight, because it reduces the confusion, as you just said, and helps us stay connected to ourselves and to others. And so we create a more connected world. And so that is what we're bringing out into the world, Barbara. We've taught over 100,000 adults and children at this point. We've certified over 300 coaches and trainers, and we're in 20 countries now. So we are growing globally, and we just keep teaching people how to resolve their own emotional turmoil, to be self-empowered so they don't have to find someone. And I'm not saying that professionals don't matter. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we don't have enough professionals to help everyone, and that we have to learn how to take care of our own inner lives.
And you make a point in your book about accessing our hearts to help us understand our unmet needs.
Mhm.
I realize that we have bottled up emotions. I mean, we can't help them. There are things on television that make us feel the emotion of fear, or the things that people are saying. And there's a quiet desperation that's going on right now. And I really want you to talk about what it is that you are able to help a person in their desperation feel empowered.
All right. Well, in order to share that, I'd really like to give an example from my own life where I was feeling pretty upset and uh, triggered by an experience, and how I was able to resolve that using the connection practice. I can show you very quickly
I
how
love
that
that.
came about.
And you said something powerful while you're putting up the slide, triggered by our experience. This is a very powerful moment in your book when you say our past experiences influence the present moment. And that is the hardest challenge. So show us what you would like us to know so that we can identify our emotions.
All right. Well, I want to give you just a little context here that basically, in this experience of my life, I needed to work out a new agreement with another global nonprofit here in Costa Rica. We had been sharing our global headquarters. We own these headquarters where I am here today. And the other nonprofit had been using our headquarters as well, and they could no longer afford to do that. So we needed to work out a new agreement. Anyway, what happened is they assigned a man to work with me on this. And in my first meeting with him, he started talking about other people in his organization in a very negative way. And I was kind of taken aback by that. And then he started telling me about his childhood and his education and problems in his family. And when I tried to gently bring him back to the task at hand, he said, "Well, your work won't go anywhere without us." And that was a trigger for me. It was like, what? Like our organizations were not in conflict, so why did he try to put me down? So anyway, because of that comment, I just went into freeze mode, which is one of the things that our brain does. When we get triggered, I just didn't know what to say to this man. And so the best we could do was set up a time for a second meeting. And so before that second meeting, I knew I needed to do the connection practice to resolve my own emotional turmoil. So I'm going to do a screen share so you can see how I did that. So the first thing I did was over here on the left where the feelings are, I identified my feelings because this is a way to give myself empathy. And so I was shocked and confused and annoyed and frustrated and worried. And then I identified my needs over here on the right. I identified that I needed respect and cooperation and harmony and emotional safety. And then I identified my main need. My main need was emotional safety. But the second step is something that you and I were talking about earlier, Barbara, and that is guessing the feelings and needs of the other person. And so I had to guess what this man was feeling, and I guessed that he might be stressed or feeling insecure, even lonely because of everything he was telling me about his life. And then with his last comment, I wondered if somehow he was jealous of my work. It didn't make sense, but it was a guess. And then I began to guess his needs. I guessed that he needed to be heard, that he needed appreciation, and that because their organization was in a financial downturn, that he needed support. And then I guessed that he needed to matter. And Barbara, it was when I guessed that he needed to matter that my heart opened to this man. Suddenly I realized that all of the things he'd done, putting me down, talking about himself, talking about others, gossiping really, that all of that is a big red flag pointing to, I'm hurt. I don't believe I matter. And then when I realized that he'd had some experience that led him to that conclusion and this behavior, then suddenly my heart opened to him. And I realized that with my need for emotional safety and his need to matter, that we needed to make a new start in our next meeting where I could create emotional safety for myself and also contribute to his need to matter. So the next thing I did, Barbara, was in the connection practice, we use coherence to get an insight. And so I'm just going to model what I did because I don't have time to teach the science behind it today, but I focused down into my heart. And then I was breathing as if breathing through my heart. And then I was feeling appreciation for my dog, Millie, because that feeling just fills my heart. And what happens when I do those 3 steps is my brain and my heart move into sync so that they're working
Rita,
as a
stop the
team.
share so we can watch you. Stop the share. We want to watch you.
Oh, okay.
So here you
All
are,
right.
this new way of feeling about this man who was quite upset about his childhood and everything else under the sun. And then you went into your heart. Start from that, how you did that.
All right.
You realized he
Okay.
wanted to matter.
Yes, he needed to matter, and I needed emotional safety. And so when I went then into this, what we call heart-brain coherence, where we get the heart and brain in sync, and we're seeking an insight about what do I need to do next with this man? How can I have a successful second meeting with him? When my need's emotional safety, his need is to matter. So I moved into heart focus, heart breathing, heart feeling of appreciation using my dog. And now my heart and brain are in sync. And I ask myself, what do I need to know to prepare for this second meeting? And what came to me in a flash were some words that really surprised me. I'd never used these words. They'd never come out of my mouth before. Less is more. Okay, I'd heard that phrase, but I'd never focused on it. I'd never said it. And I thought, less is more. What the heck? What am I supposed to do with that in this situation? And then I realized on my agenda for the second meeting, I had 10 different items, and some of them were requests. And so I thought, less is more. I'm going to get it down to one request. And so I did that. I got it down to one request. And then I went to my second meeting with him. And when we sat down this time, I wanted him to know he mattered. So every time he complained about something, this time I gave him empathy. I said, Victor, that was his name, Victor, it sounds like you're feeling really frustrated and you need support. Is that it? That's right, he says. And it sounds like that was kind of confusing from your colleague. And what you really needed was honesty. Is that it? Yes, that's it. So I gave him empathy. I was ready this time. And so then we got connected. And finally, at the end of the meeting, I came with my one request. And he said, oh, sure, we can do that. And we can do this. And we can do this. And we can do this. And I said,
Because you were with him,
great, Victor.
you were with this young man, whoever he was. You did not bring in an agenda and hope he catches on. You understood him. This connective practice is so powerful. It can work in marriages, it can work in churches, it can work in government agencies, and it can work on boards of directors. But it takes time, and it takes you and I to be a practice. Is this correct? Practice is important in this whole session?
Oh my goodness, yes, that's the whole thing, is we're developing new neural pathways, Barbara. That's what we're able to do with the connection practice by getting to self-empathy, empathy for the other, and insight. We are very consciously developing new neural pathways, but it takes more than once. It takes practice.
And you are such an expert at it. And there's over 100,000 people who have been prepared to also become experts at this connective practice. Completely Connected is Rita Marie's book. And I want you to know that I have underlined so many passages in this book because I too am learning. I've always felt I could understand what people are saying to me by looking at their eyes and their body language. But now I'm looking at their emotional needs also, because that's where the harmony starts, in the emotions of both of you. They say that the brain is the most important part of our body, but I think it's the heart. And I always tell everybody I love them. And some people look at me so strange. You love me? I said, you're a human being on planet Earth, and we all have a destiny and a code. And I see that in you, and I love you. And I say that to people, maybe just the first time I even meet them, I love you. And those are words that we say for special occasions. No, use them because it opens up the heart, right, Rita? And Rita,
So true, Barbara.
I'm so impressed with the work that you have been doing to implement the completely connected practice. And how can people who are watching today say, I want more of Rita? I want to know all about her. What would you tell them to do? How can we in 2025 get our listeners involved?
Sure. Well, of course, you can go to our website. It's connectionpractice.org. So very easy to remember to find, connectionpractice.org. And there you will find a course to get you started. I teach an online course called Inner Wellness for Success. And then many people, Barbara, once they get a taste of this, want to become certified as coaches. And so there's all the information there on the website about how you can become a certified connection practice coach. And then also one of the most fun things, and I'm sure you would know about this because of your experience in Costa Rica, and that is that we have connection practice tours in Costa Rica where the people come, we teach them the connection practice, and then they're immersed in it all week as we visit the best sites in Costa Rica. So we travel and immerse ourselves in nature and learn the connection practice.
Oh, I love Costa Rica. We spent so many years there. My late husband, Dr. Robert Mueller, co-founder of the University for Peace. And you have taught there, Rita, and
I have
created your book in our little humble cabin. Just looking at you makes me smile. I loved my years in Costa Rica. And recently I nominated Costa Rica for an international award of what a demilitarized country is like, to live in a demilitarized country. And I said the best part is I don't have to sell my property to pay the taxes because the taxes in Costa Rica are so low for my 3,000 hectares. Why? Because we don't have to support a military. And I can keep this land for my great grandchildren. I can keep this land for Rita's members who come to visit her. And this land is pure and holy, and it's special because there's no military. So, Rita, you have come to a conclusion where you have realized that being in Costa Rica is exactly where you need to be.
Yes, that's right. This is our global headquarters right here. And we have people from all over the world coming to visit our global headquarters. It makes the whole story of our history come alive, for people who are trainers. For example, we have about 100 trainers in Japan. So we've had a lot of Japanese come and visit us. We also have a lot of people learning the connection practice in South Korea and in other countries as well. We are so happy that we've got South Africa on board with the connection practice, and we've been training people to work in Ukraine. We're concerned about the children in Ukraine, and so we're training teachers that are going to be able to help kids resolve emotional turmoil from what they've been through in Ukraine.
These are all so powerful statements that you're making. To help people who are in this war-torn areas is so passionate for you. And you also say your mission is to turn pain into peace worldwide through the connection. And that's exactly what you're doing in these war-torn areas. Rita Marie Johnson received the Weldon Award for Wisdom, a Weldon Award for Wisdom, an honor she shared with Oprah Winfrey for her role in changing lives and making our planet a better world. I mentioned that her book, The Connection Practice, is a winner of the Ashoka Changemakers Innovation Award. She is also the author, as I said, of the Nautilus Book Award in Psychology. So you have been an award winner for the work you're doing. And I remember when you started this. How long have you been working in this nonprofit field?
Well, I established my nonprofit in 1997 in Costa Rica. At first, it was a Costa Rican nonprofit, and then we grew, and now it's a U.S. nonprofit, so I can work globally. I created the connection practice essentially in 2002, so that by 2004, we were teaching it in the public schools here in Costa Rica, supported by President Oscar Arias, Nobel Peace Prize laureate. I was so fortunate that he gave his support. I had 8 years of presidential support for the program here in Costa Rica. It was amazing.
Well, you are a model for many people who have a desire to do something, and they may not have had the breaks. And I think that my theory, and you're a perfect example of it, know your vision of the planet that you want. Keep that vision out there. I have had so many times that I have started something and the universe comes forth and supports me. And as all these political offices and presidents, et cetera, have supported you. When you know your vision, this is a really hard concept, almost as hard as combining needs and empathy. It's when you know your vision, you don't say, oh, that'll never happen. You let that vision guide you. And I sometimes just say, okay, I'm giving it away. So help me figure it out. I'm not going to figure it out because the connective practice and we need empathy and we need insight. And then we need those unsung heroes who come forth, and they do. They just appear. And has that happened for you in your life, Rita?
Yeah, I'm amazed continually at the people that have shown up to support my work. And actually, right now, there's a family that is looking at how to take us to the next step digitally so that we can scale and reach many, many, many more people. Barbara, you saw my digital connection practice boards, but we want to take another step that makes it easy and fun even to learn, the connection practice, and then be able to work in partners all over the world doing the connection practice, becoming more and more proficient at resolving emotional turmoil and getting to our best thinking.
It is so beautiful, Rita Marie Johnson, that you are our first guest in 2025. And you, as a founder of the Rasure Foundation International, the creator of the Connection Practice, and the author of Completely Connected, match the philosophy that I have for peacepodcast.org. In order for us to create a world where we all thrive with each other and Mother Nature. We have to learn how to be the peace our family, friends, and our world needs. And the connective practice is a message that we all need. Rita, give us your website one more time.
Sure. It's connectionpractice.org.
www.connectionpractice.org. Rita, I'm going to make you our sponsor this week too. So not only will we have your podcast, but we're going to feature your book and feature, it is available on Amazon, right?
It is. It's also available on our website. And so, we actually prefer you buy it on our website.
That's great.
And that way you get to know our website as well. You just go to the store in our website and you can order the book.
Well, I hope that you watchers, these people who are watching today, will learn that it becomes you when you listen to these podcasts. And I thank all of you for inviting your friends to watch this podcast with you, because then you have a conversation after. And what did Rita say that would allow you to make a new decision about your life with your loved ones who may not be on the same path as you are? So with that, I say to you, I'm Barbara Gahn-Mueller. I am delighted that you're here, Rita. I'm delighted that our followers are going to watch us on Instagram, on Spotify, on YouTube. We are there for you. And the other day I was cleaning the house and I said, I'm going to listen to my podcast on Spotify. So I put my little iPhone next on the kitchen counter. And I just started listening to my podcast on Spotify. And then I did my work and I got this inspiration, started taking notes and sat down because I couldn't keep working. I had to pay attention to what everybody was saying. So Rita, I thank you. Do you have a dream for the world right now, our planet?
I just dream that we can live together in harmony and that we can resolve all of our challenges with our innate creativity. Peacefully and creatively live together in peace.
Absolutely beautiful. And Rita did talk about going into her heart, and I totally agree with that. The heart, I've always felt love is the answer to so many world problems. When you're in love with somebody, you find ways to make it work. And I feel like we're going to all fall in love with you, Rita, and the connection practice. Thank you for being our guest today.
Thank you so much for having me, Barbara. It's been a joy.
Thank you. And I'm Barbara Gahn-Mueller, thanking each of you for saying yes to peacepodcast.org and for enjoying these more than 150 podcasts. These short moments are when you can learn from the wisdom keepers of our world, the people who have worked hard to make peace a possibility. And with that, I thank you, and I'll see you next week.